Welcome back, friends, to another lightning episode of The Truth About the Plant, the show that takes you on a journey through the world of psychoactive plants and alternative wellness, all while delivering real, actionable insights you crave. I'm your host, Christina Dees, and this is my equally talented co-host, Dr. Amanda Ryman. Dr. Ryman, you want to tell them why we're here, why we show up every week and deliver the truth about the plant in 20 minutes or less?
That's a great question. We are here because we know that it is so difficult to get good, reliable, science-informed information about cannabis on the internet. A lot of people think they're experts, but you can Google a question about cannabis and get 100 different responses. Many of them completely contradict each other. So that's where we come in. We understand cannabis, we understand the science, and we're here to cut through the BS and give you the information you need and the actionable insights you crave so that you can go out there and make good decisions and have a healthy relationship with the cannabis plant. And we're going to do it all in about 20 minutes. We know that you're busy. We know you have a lot to do, places to go, people to see. And so you can think of us as your really cool aunties or your kick-ass granddaughters, the women in your life who will always tell you the truth.
This week, we have another question from our audience. And if you've ever found yourself reaching for a joint after a long day and wondered, is this self-care or is this a crutch? Well, you're not alone. Today's viewer question dives into the hazy space between relaxation and reliance. So we're going to answer the question, is using weed a good way to cope? We're going to talk about the science, the psychology, and what it really means to turn to cannabis when life gets stressful. So, Dr. Ryman, cannabis is known by many as the feel-good drug. It creates this sense of euphoria and well-being for many people who consume it. And because of this, cannabis may be the go-to for people dealing with grief, trauma, or just regular day-to-day stress. But is it cannabis really helping you cope, or is it distracting you from dealing with the underlying issues, or is it a little bit of both? Is this a good way to cope?
Well, that's a great question. And let's face it, the world is a very stressful place right now. The United States is a very stressful place right now. And every day we are completely flooded with news and information that is extremely stressful. People are facing financial burdens. They're facing family burdens. They are concerned about the environment. And so there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress going around. And relaxing and smoking a joint is a really good way to not think about some of these things. But there comes a point where, is it really making you feel better? Is it distracting you? Is it numbing you? As you mentioned, is it a crutch? Or is it something we all just need right now just to get through the day? So we know that cannabis has a lot of effects on feelings, whether that's anxiety, depression, grief. It is a common treatment for PTSD. It is a common treatment for depression, for anxiety. And it can be really useful in getting through intense feelings and moments of depression or anxiety. So as you said, it produces euphoria. It makes you feel better about your situation. It kind of removes you a little bit. It's got some of that disassociation with your current situation. So it can absolutely elevate your mood. It can distract you from negative emotions, and it can help you find joy in little things, helping you get up, helping you get out of the house, take a walk, appreciate nature. So there's definitely a utility in using cannabis to deal right now with the bad things you are feeling. Right. And so whether that's psychological pain, emotional pain, or physical pain, cannabis can do a lot to address those things right now. But when we're talking about things where it is a healing arc, right? And so these are things like trauma, grief, losing your job, breaking up, a relationship breaking up, the loss of a family member, the loss of a pet, even things that are super stressful, like having to move from one house to another or go from one job to another. All of these things can cause stress and anxiety, and they're not just one and done, right? So it's not just like, oh man, that was a really hard day at work and I need something to help me relax, and then I'm going to face the day tomorrow. These are things like, oh my God, today was terrible. Hopefully tomorrow's better. Hopefully tomorrow's better. And you kind of have to move through the emotions associated with this change in life or with this negative life circumstance. So, it can definitely help you kind of get through those feelings, but there comes a point where avoidance and kind of covering up the feelings with chemical induced euphoria reaches a point where it may be preventing you from moving on. There is a real value to being present and to feeling your feelings, even if they're negative feelings, when it comes to healing. So I do think that cannabis can be a really good bandage, but I don't think it's necessarily like a long-term like cast where your arm is going to be able to heal from a break and then they're going to take the cast off and it's going to be healed. I think that there is some experience of emotion and processing of emotion that has to happen in order for that healing to really occur.
Yeah, so what's coming up for me in hearing you talk is conscious awareness, like just being conscious of the reason that you are using it. And, I will share a personal story because when I was studying the plant and getting my master's, and learning about all the effects cognitively, therapeutically, the potential for helping with certain things, but also the potential risks, like we talk about on the show, of using it for as a crutch. So I stopped using all substances for about a year and really just paid attention to my feelings, right? So when I was having a difficult moment and I went through a difficult time, we'll call it a little T, a little trauma. Some can call it a big T, but for me, it was a little T. And I wanted to pay attention when I felt the urge. I'm not a big drinker, so it's not like I have the urge to have a drink. I know a lot of people do. Have a bad day and they come home and like, oh, I need a drink, and you're reaching for that substance, whatever it is that makes you feel good. It could be shopping. But we're talking about cannabis on this show, and so sometimes I just was like, I wanted to just relax, and that's what we do, right? We get a drink, we get take a hit or an edible, and we just want to relax. But I really had to sync up with myself about why I was using it and when, and like, oh, what am I trying to do right now? Am I trying to numb this feeling so that I don't have to feel it? And that's when I was like, no, you're actually going to feel your feelings and you're not going to use anything. And that helped me during my sober period or my abstaining period. So how does cannabis fit in here?
I think that was a really great illustration of, there is kind of like trauma that happens and we just need to get through the day, right? We're like, look, I just need whatever I need to do to get through this day and get to tomorrow. Like, that's what I need to do. And I think that cannabis can absolutely help facilitate that, kind of like a physical pain. If your back has gone out and it's seizing up and you have to go somewhere, you just need something to stop your back from seizing up so that you can go to the place you need to go. You don't need to worry about, do I need to have surgery? Do I need to have rehabilitation? Do I need to have an MRI? Do I need to figure out what's going on? It's like, in this moment, I am incapacitated and I need to do what I need to do in order to get what I need to get done, right? In order to go about and live my life, in order to make dinner, in order to do my job, in order to take care of my animals and take care of my kids, right? So I think that in that moment, cannabis can be really helpful because it might dull that pain enough so that you can get things done. But I think it's also important to remember, and this is when we get back to mindful consumption and minimum effective dose, that sometimes cannabis can actually enhance anxiety. So if you're going through something in your life, like maybe it's instability at your job or instability with your living situation, and it's making you really anxious, taking too much THC can actually increase that anxiety. It can make you hyper focused on the issue. It doesn't make you relaxed. This also depends on the type of cannabis you're using. Certain strains, certain terpene profiles, as we've talked about on this show, may actually increase anxiety or increase energy rather than promote relaxation. And so it's definitely possible that whatever you're feeling may be enhanced by cannabis. So again, it's really kind of tricky because one, you have to know, is this an emotion that I know I can handle with cannabis? Two, what kind of cannabis should I be using and what kind of dose should I be taking to handle this emotion? And three, as you mentioned, when does this go from just helping me get through my day? Like, my back is seizing up and I still have to go and pick up my kids from school. And when does this become, I don't want to face the fact that there's something wrong with my back and I have to get surgery and that's going to be long rehabilitation. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to keep using cannabis just so I don't have to deal with things. And as you mentioned, sometimes feeling our feelings and facing our feelings and facing our situation is the only way to break through to the other side. And so then the question becomes, is the numbing effect of cannabis preventing you from doing that?
Yeah. So, can cannabis prevent you from facing your circumstances? I
Yeah,
think so.
it can. I mean, you were talking right about your experience of facing your feelings and sitting in your feelings. Do you feel that doing that without, an aid or a crutch helped you move through those feelings?
Yeah, I think it helped me connect with self because sometimes when you use a substance, and in this case, we're talking about cannabis, and for me, that was, I do enjoy it from time to time. I realized that by doing that, I was relaxed, I felt good for sure, but I was also avoiding allowing those emotions to flow through me. And we both know that when you are able to do that, it is a much healthier feeling, I guess is the word. It's like rewarding. Maybe that's a better word. It's rewarding to know like I can do hard things and I can move through it. And that's not to say like that we judge anybody for using it as a crutch. If you are in a situation where you're like, I can't deal and I need something now, I think totally that's okay. We're just saying like be conscious of when you're choosing to do it and when you're not, and is it more of a crutch or is it more of a relaxation tool? And either way it's great, but we do want people to use it in a healthy mindful way, so we're just drawing attention to what are the reasons that we use it. So for
Right.
me it changed my relationship with the plant because now I understand people that use it every day that can't, they wake up and that's the first thing they have to do in order to just deal with the day. And that is also kind of like smoking. It can be just the habit of like, oh, I just love to smoke and wake up every day and I love that. But, at some point, is that preventing you from feeling your feelings or facing your circumstances in a healthier way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great point, and that's why we talk so much on this show about mindful consumption, because there comes a point where you want to use cannabis to make facing the hard stuff easier, but not as a way to avoid it altogether. So it is possible that things that are just too scary to face, things that are too anxiety provoking to face, things that are too traumatic to face, cannabis could make it easier to face those things if you're using cannabis intentionally. So asking yourself, why are you consuming cannabis in this moment? And that will help you identify your intention. So, right after trauma or newly into grief, cannabis can help numb the intense feelings and make it easier to function. But after a while, if you're still using cannabis to numb feelings and just to function, it may inhibit growth and your ability to move forward. So, there comes a time when cannabis can make hard stuff easier to face, easier to talk about, easier to work through. So it's like that intention, right? So after grief and into grief, for example, for a first little while, it might be I'm using cannabis because this is the really the only way I can function is if I'm giving myself a boost of euphoria, if I'm helping myself get distracted from the pain that I'm feeling. And then after a while, you may start saying, well, now I'm just using it because I know I have to address the pain I'm feeling and I don't want to. That's kind of the turning point, right? And then it may become, I'm using cannabis because it makes it easier to feel the pain. It makes it easier to work through the grief. And so that is intention. And there's no right or wrong, like you said, right? Everybody moves through grief and trauma differently. Everybody internalizes these things differently. So, using cannabis, but being really aware of where you are in that arc and how cannabis will best serve you in that moment is really important. So asking yourself why you're consuming, matching your intention with where you are in the healing process will make sure that you're getting the most out of your consumption and your relationship with the plant, and that you're not just stuck in that first phase of I'm just using this so that I don't have to think.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank the viewer for bringing forward this question for us to talk about today. If you have a question of your own that you want us to talk about on the show, we'd love to hear it. You can always send us an email at info@mypersonalplants.com. But I want to take us back to the very beginning of this episode where you introed with us that there's a lot of pain going on in the world today, especially here in the US. And we have a few extra minutes. So I just wanted to candidly talk about that. Do you think that people are using cannabis more recreationally now than before? Do you think it's about the same? I know that's kind of a, you
No,
know,
it's actually a very easy question to answer. It's just that we don't know what's correlation and what's causation, right? So yes, adults are using cannabis more now than they ever have before. However, more adults have legal access to cannabis now than ever have before. It's less stigmatized now than it ever has been before. There are more ways to consume cannabis that aren't smoking than there ever have been before. And there's also the effect of legalization on already consumers admitting use. So, you could have been in a state that was illegal. And so someone asked you if you used cannabis and you were like, no, because you didn't want to admit to using an illegal substance. Now it's legal. So people ask you, do you use cannabis? And you say yes. So, we absolutely have seen adult cannabis use increase during legalization, but that's not surprising. A lot of people are making decisions about using cannabis instead of alcohol, using cannabis instead of prescription drugs and over the counter drugs. And like I mentioned, with all of these products available, including low dose edibles and beverages, folks who in the past were like, well, I might be interested in cannabis, but I don't want to smoke. Now there's a lot of options available to them as well. So I think it's a cluster of a lot of things happening, including destigmatization, legalization, increased access, an increased variety of products, the desire to use cannabis as a substitute for more harmful substances, and yes, feeling a lot of stress and wanting to find ways to handle that stress that are healthier. So, our parents, when faced with stressful economies and realities, may have reached for the scotch. Our generation may be more likely to reach for the cannabis. So I think that there's a universal truth that goes and spans across decades, which is that people are looking for ways to relieve their stress. And some of the easiest and most convenient ways to do that are through intoxicating substances. So I think that kind of pattern hasn't changed, but the substances that people choose to use depend a lot on social acceptability, legality, and access.
yeah, that was a great response. Because I think you're right. Has been used as a coping mechanism, alcohol and cannabis. But even today, I see a lot of people coping with life with cannabis. And we just want to remind everyone to be more mindful and make your conscious decisions about it and have a positive relationship with the plant. So thank you. Well, thank you to everyone who listens and tunes in with us each week. If you love this episode or any of our episodes and you feel inclined to share them, please do. We would love to spread the word about our knowledge and what we're trying to do with the truth about the plant. If you have questions of your own, like I said, you can always email them to us at info@mypersonalplants. You can even just say hi. And for more plant powered wisdom, again, leaf through our YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell there so you never miss a dose of herbal wisdom. We're on all the podcasting platforms as well. So until next time, stay mindful, stay curious, and keep growing through what you're going through. We're here for you. Your cool aunties love you.